Sweet.
I think we're live.
Wonderful.
All right.
It's working.
Morning, everyone.
Hi.
So welcome, everyone. My name is Elise Bortolato, and I'm from the Emerging Enterprise Center, a nonprofit business incubator, part of the Newcastle County Chamber of Commerce. And if you can tell today, we're really excited to be talking with founder and CEO, Leah daPonte Lightcap, and director and trainer, Ireida Grabill from Language Liaisons here in Wilmington, Delaware.
That's right.
And so we're talking today because every brand has a story, and we're really excited to hear theirs. So first, before we get started, for those on the call, I'm hoping you can just give the quick elevator pitch about what Language Liaisons is for those joining us.
Very, very good. So we are a full service language company. So we specialize in the translation, interpreting, communications experts is what we like to refer ourselves as. So you can imagine, and just our state is growing more and more diverse by the day. There's so many needs out there for companies to take their English language and communicate with a number of different clients in a number of different languages. And that's where we come in.
Yes.
We've partnered with hundreds of language professionals. We've trained and tested them, and we're able to work in many different industries, from pharmaceuticals to
Healthcare, education,
yes,
social work, legal, anything like that. And we do that in over 200 languages, including American Sign Language, and we can do that on site, telephonically or online. So, yeah.
And if you just want to just briefly share, I know there's two of you on the screen today. So if we want to just make sure everyone's aware of who's chatting, if you want to just make sure you're
100% at least. So I'll start and say that, I'm the founder and CEO of Language Liaisons. I'm Lea Lightcap. And when Elise approached us about this opportunity of startup, I thought to myself instantly, there is no startup success story without bringing Ireida in, as she's our director of the entire program. And so, to have a true startup success story, typically I know it is the founder or the CEO who is one-on-one on these talks, but there is no startup success without Ireida. So do you want to share a little bit about your role and what you do for the company?
Yes, it's definitely a team effort. I started as a Spanish tutor, then took the interpreting training myself, became an interpreter, had no idea that there was such a thing as, the ability to become an interpreter professionally. And then started doing marketing and doing some events, and now I'm directing. So now I make sure that everybody's needs are met, and that we are giving you the most excellent services when it comes to language services, and that we're being responsive, and that we're listening to your needs. This is not a cookie cutter language agency. We listen to what you need, and then we provide you with the best solutions. So now I just do that. I take care of operations, and I take care of keeping the communication open with our clients and our team, our interpreting team as well.
Wonderful. Well, now that we got all that stuff out of the way, I really really interested into learning a little bit about the person behind this brand that you've created. Can you tell a little bit about your background, where you grew up, and maybe the why behind starting Language Liaisons?
Very, very good question. So I was born and raised in Delaware, but even given that, I've escaped so many times, right? I've been to about 25 different countries. I hope to get to at least 25 different more. Was a volunteer, was a teacher in different countries, just traveled for the sake of traveling, exploring, learning. Obviously very passionate about languages, and have studied several languages. I'm fluent in English, Spanish, and Brazilian Portuguese. And language has always been something very, very personal, very special to me. So my father came to this country. He was born in Paraguay, which is a country that no one ever really knows about, right? It's a small country in the center of South America. Believe it or not, my dad came to this country on just a tourist intention, right? Was just going to stay for about a week or two. And sadly was in a really awful car accident woke up in the hospital, had been in a coma for weeks, and did not speak English. So again, growing up and hearing that story time and time again, it just weighs on you to think about what that must have felt like, what that must have been like. And I do think subliminally, that was always just something, that an injustice that I felt of how horrible to have a surgery and not know what's happening, or, you know, to wake up and be so confused, you know, what happened to the people that were in the car with you? What happened to the nurse that was there yesterday taking care of you? Anything, right? And so the idea of that intersect between service and language has just always just been a part of me. And, you know, I grew up studying languages, getting up to a master's degree level in the study of linguistics. And so it was really my sister, who's in healthcare, who really sparked an enthusiasm in me to say, like, do you know that this is a need? Do you know that every day I go into work wishing I spoke Spanish, because a number of my patients are confused, and I don't even get that moment to tell them, like, hey, you know, I'm nice, I'm going to take care of you, and this is only going to hurt for a second, and you'll be out of here tomorrow, whatever it is. So, you know, just growing up and having a real passion for family and a real passion for listening and hearing about this need, it was like, yes, we've got the tools to fulfill this need. We can do something here.
That's wonderful. Yeah, especially being in the hospital, it's such a vulnerable state, and it's amazing how everyone's kind of background or life experiences can shape a lot of what they do in the future. So I feel like that's an important part for people to understand the why, or the why behind a brand or person who created a certain brand.
Yes.
I know that a lot of, so for instance, when your sister came to you and said, you know, this is a real need, and you know, was there a moment that you said, okay, you have this idea of going in and creating this interpretation in hospitals, or any other kind of company that kind of needs help in interpreting? When did you know it was worth truly pursuing as a business, or something you were going to take on as a business, and not just join a company that's doing it, but you wanted to start something here?
Very, very good question. So I was asked by, you know, several different local companies to come in and just do a lot of, first it started as education, just one-on-one classes about conversational language and, you know, how we can break down this barrier. I ended up publishing some books, again, just voluntarily, as I would sit down and create worksheets and you know, meet with my sister and her colleagues at lunch and to give them a lesson on Spanish for nurses or things like that. I just started to be asked time and again, can you come back? Can you come back next week? And I was doing it at the volunteer level, right? Just because I loved it. And it got to a point where a doctor called me and said, I've been listening in on some of your classes. I've really enjoyed them, but we need more. Like, we need a professional to come in. Can you come in this week? We've got a surgery. And so I started to get overbooked, and I'm like, I think I need to hire someone to help me here. And they're not going to do it at a volunteer rate, you know? So that's when I started to say, I think we need a business plan, and started to put together an idea. And again, from the bottom up, just working with potential clients to say, what are your needs? How can we help? And what's fair? How can we use this service and price it accordingly so that it's sustainable for you and it's sustainable for the people that I'm hiring for this role?
So that's interesting. That kind of goes to one of these points. There's kind of like a point where, you know, you started volunteering, and it kind of became this little snowball that turned into a big snowman and is now huge. You know, was there something that you feel like, you know, helped in that success or that growth, or something that made a difference in that? Now I know you're just adding one hire, but was there something that really helped in sparking that really big growth or that change in your company?
Absolutely. She's sitting right next to me, right? So I will say, like, working with people who you trust, who you truly trust, right? Getting the right people on and off the bus, because we had some growing pains as a company, you know, putting trust in hiring, and then not really feeling that trust and taking those leaps of faith. And I'll never forget, you know, this was before we had an office even, you know, sitting down with Ireida and saying, like, I need to be vulnerable. I have some fears. I need to take a leap of faith, but I don't know if I'm ready for X, Y, Z. I'll never forget. She just looked at me. She's like, will you trust me? Like, I've got your back, and, you know, let's take this leap. Let's do this. And it was that confidence of knowing we had the right people on our team to carry that towards our clients to say, you can trust us. We will meet your deadlines. We will deliver. Mm-hmm. We know that this is, when it comes to, pharmaceuticals, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to education, this is some very important work. And we know that there's no room for error, right? And so having the confidence in a team that truly has your back and will speak up when they say, like, okay, we need to talk about this. And this is the way we should be, we should be approaching a client, an issue, whatever it might be. So for me, it was that moment of having confidence that our clients recognized, and they were like, let's give them more work. Let's they can handle this, right? And so that for us was our snowball moment. Definitely. Having some really, really high level clients just, completely having faith in us.
So it seems that you talk a little bit about vulnerability with your team. Is that something that you kept going forward with to make sure you were creating that right team? What was those attributes that you felt you had that really helped build that team, the team you want, the team you trust? Was there something that you did or feel like you did that kind of helped in, that you can kind of tell other businesses or those who are starting businesses or those who are hiring that you felt was one of your, one of the attributes that kind of helped that? Was it the vulnerability? Was it the openness? What helped you develop that?
What do you think, Ireida? What would you say? I'll have to ask you that question.
Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts. I think one of the things that really stood out is that as we were looking to grow the team, everyone that we were looking at were people that were already interpreters themselves. They had been in the field, they had gone through the training or had gone through even our own training. And so that really gave us the opportunity to get to work with that person for a good 40 plus hours, right? Mm-hmm. Before, stepping in and saying, hey, have you ever thought about doing this on the operations side? So everyone in our admin team and our operations team, they are qualified interpreters, down to our brand ambassadors. We have a new intern, and he went through the training, and we said, we just want you to take the 40-hour training, even if you're not going to interpret, so that you can understand what we do from the inside out. Because what we do is we're not just looking for clients, we also are looking for these opportunities for great people, like great qualified interpreters. And so building our team, especially here locally in Delaware, we wanted to all of us understand what they are going through, right? What are their experiences when they're going into these offices? How do you explain your role? A lot of people don't even know what an interpreter is, that there are do's and don'ts, and that we can be confident in that. So we do train interpreters as well. We're one of 2 entities here in Delaware that are qualified and licensed to qualify bilinguals and multilinguals to be community interpreters, whether it's a healthcare focus or an education focus or even a legal focus. So I think that having all of us really understand what our product or our service is from the inside out has been huge. And from the very beginning, we've treated each other as family. Like, it is a business, and obviously there's like a professional boundaries and all of that, but I feel like from the very beginning we were like, we just connected, and that's the same thing with our ops team. Is small, there's 5 of us, but we're a group, we're a family. It's not so, I guess, cold. Yeah. So that's also been another, like, just a culture of the team has been really nice too.
I feel like you just hit on really good points for those who are kind of tuning in and seeing how they can, you're taking time. Like you said, 40 hours, your admin team was committed to really understanding your product. You invested in them for them to really fully learn what you're doing, and you're creating this. I think that's just such an important part. Where, have you ever been on an application and you see at the end, like, a bonus is like, it's really, a bonus is just if you like the field. And I feel like for you guys, you're putting that at the top. Like, you have to truly love this field, and that's really where you're kind of setting the culture. You're setting the standard or the bar very high for, like, you have to really enjoy it, like it, understand it, and then we'll bring you in, and that's how you're really developing a strong business, which I think is awesome.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, it's not just a little bottom line byline that you're adding, but you're actually making it part of the whole process of hiring.
Yes.
Which kind of goes back to those challenges. And Leah, I'm sure you can kind of talk to this, is, you said you had a lot of growing pains. So a lot of companies your size, you start off small, and then you realize that there's just so much business, which is a good thing. But you do come up against some challenges, either cash flow challenges, internal leadership or learning challenges, how to scale, how to market, how to position yourself in the market, how to differentiate yourself, seeing competitors come in. That's a lot of overwhelming things. And I know I just threw a lot out there, but can you talk to any or all of those things that maybe you hit, and how you overcame them and, really took away their power to really make yourself more powerful?
Absolutely. So I will say, sometimes we'll sit and we'll look at, where we came from, even the past 5 years of growth, and to see that expansion, it looks like it's easy, but what goes behind it, there are these terrifying moments, right? And so, some terrifying moments for us certainly have come up. And I think it's important to talk to the people you trust, talk to your mentors, talk to, say it out loud what's scaring you. Even be honest enough with your team to share what is scaring you, so that they can say, like, okay, that's a logical fear, but you remember we have this resource, and remember we have this other angle. So whether it came down to moments of cash flow, whether that was, we've always been pretty good at investing back in the company what we're earning, right? So we've subsidized ourselves, and we've been very, very smart with, taking calculated risk, but not irresponsible risk. So we haven't had too many terrifying financial moments, knock on wood, because we have been very fortunate in that regard. But there have been moments of panic, where you say, okay, we need to pivot. We have a pandemic here, and everything is turned upside on its head. What are we going to do? And I think rather than kind of hiding behind those fears or keeping them inside as the CEO, being open about them, to say, like, okay, let's sit down and talk through some of these emotions. And let's remember we've gotten through some really challenging times before. And if we can remember that, I have a small poem I keep on my desk, and it's just this reiteration of, I shall succeed. Failure may be whispering in my ear, but I'm going to keep pushing, because at the end of the day, we'll get through it. Right. So whether that is, working through challenges, it's just, it's keeping that in mind.
And I think that really prepared us for what we're dealing with right now, the pandemic and all of that. I think that, we had been talking about things like technology. Let's bring in the technology, because we were for a while very specialized and focused on providing certified and qualified on-site interpreters, so in person. And so we knew that a lot of our competitors, even at a national level, they were introducing technology, iPads and the, telephones have been around forever. So that's the blue phones at the hospital. That's the interpreting phone. But for us, we were like, this is our niche. Like we are the best on-site interpreters. That's what we provide, right? And as we were looking at the needs here, especially in our state, like down south, we had community leaders from the deaf and hard of hearing community reach out and say, we're having a really hard time finding interpreters, American Sign Language interpreters that are certified, that know how to do this professionally, that can stay in their role and respect my communicative autonomy. Because that's a big thing, that you're not taking people's rights away. You're just being their voice when you're interpreting for them. And so we started to test with American Sign Language with our technology about 3-4 months before the pandemic hit. So it was really nice that because we had talked about these challenges and these, not necessarily fears, but like, we just didn't think it was a thing. Yeah, a little bit of a resistance. We tried something, and then the pandemic hit, and we were like, okay, now we know kind of what to do. So let's just jump in with all the other languages. And so now we are able to say that our online and telephonic services really are nationwide. And so we're just so excited about that, and about our online interpreting platform, and just the growth that we've seen, just because the conversations happen, from the beginning. Where's the need? Where's the fear? Where's the resistance? But what are the solutions that we can find together and test and see if there is, growth there? And so we were more ready than not when the pandemic hit. And so I'm so grateful for that.
So what I'm also hearing, just for those who are for tuning in, is this idea of testing, which I think that a lot of companies, it doesn't have to be an all-in. It could be a little piloted test. See what works, see what doesn't work. It allows you to pivot faster, especially a small company can be a little bit more nimble. So I feel like that's a really good point that I'm hearing is, testing. And I know that you had kind of spoken to cash flow and that you guys are really good on your finances and making sure that you guys were taking calculated risk to help grow the business. But for those, I don't know, because I actually personally don't know, Leah, about how you got started. I know there's a lot of organic growth, but did you have any outside funding? Was there any kind of personal investment that you put into this business?
A lot of personal investments, yes. So, as I was growing the company, and I didn't feel that need to be in a huge hurry. I knew that we had a very strong business plan. I knew that it was going to work. And I also recognized that in the world of, written document translations and in interpreting, that the nation was kind of catching up to the importance of it. So I didn't feel this need. And if I did feel that need, I would have gone the route of seeking funding. But I felt like I was growing at a pace that was just above the curve, where our state even was like, okay, like these signs need to be in another language because there's a huge population here. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, I'm right here. We're ready to translate those signs, right? Mm-hmm. And so whether that was a small project or, a full care manual from an oncology center that had to be translated into several different languages, right? Knowing that, I didn't want to grow too fast and be so equipped and ready and not any clients ready to use our service. So the way that it worked was really organic. And I put a lot of personal investment. And again, anything that we made, we were investing right back into the company. And so I think, where a company might say like within 5 years, they grew X amount, and we're celebrating our 16th year.
Wow.
Yes. But we grew again, slowly and surely, which that fits my personality. That's more, I'd rather kind of win the race that way and say like, we've really taken a look at everything in front of us and we're ready for the next step. And as Ireida mentioned, now we're on this nationwide, we're ready for that, right? So we've got the platforms in place where, again, this is the second time we've been in the same room together in 4 months, right? We're typically, our professionals were going in to offices, to centers, and now we know that may not be a reality anytime soon. So to have that video remote capacity has really allowed us to extend our footprint. The same with translations and scheduling all of this. So the more business we received, the more we realized we needed a robust platform. And like you said, Elise, the testing came in critically, right? So we tested certain platforms and we thought they might be the right one. And then we realized through trial and error, we needed something better and bigger. So we've grown that. We've really grown logistically over the past, I would say 3 to 5 years. Definitely. Streamlining, again, I credit Ireida for all of her organization streamlining, but all of our systems so that, when a professional athletic, very well-known local athletic team reaches out to us and says, we need your help, they are very impressed with our level of organization, everything, and trust us to give us the business, because everything from scheduling to billing, to creating an appointment, whether that's, a telephonic or if it's video remote or if it's a document translation, it's seamless because we've taken these steps.
And I think that too, something that helps with, cash flow, and that when you have a service that you can offer, like language is such a vast thing, like you can do so many things with language. And Leah started with, this idea of we need to provide these on-site interpreters, or, maybe help the nurses know how to communicate a little bit and, give them some lessons and that. But then we had people that came to us, within our community saying, I'm a local nurse, or I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, a well-known lawyer here, and I would like to, be able to communicate with this Italian population. Can I take some Italian tutoring classes? I'm not necessarily wanting to be bilingual, but I want to be able to connect before the interpreter comes into the room, you know, and being open to those opportunities that are not maybe the exact service or product that you were hoping you were going to be selling or providing, but it's still indirectly connected and it is helping with the cash flow. And I mean, that is how our tutoring department was birthed. It was people coming to us saying, can you do this? Can you do this for us? You know, we have even homeschooling families that wanted their children to be bilingual. And so they've been with us for over 10 years and all of their kiddos have gone through our Spanish program. And I can tell you at least 3 of them are fully bilingual and the other 2 are well on their road to becoming fully bilingual. We're still working with them. And so that, you know, being open, that you have your main goal, your main idea, but there may be other opportunities surrounding that you could really take advantage of that can help you reach your main goal too. So I think Leah did an amazing job with that and diversifying in that way.
Is there any like guidelines you guys gave yourself? Because I've been in companies too where there could be, sometimes you're not focused enough. So like, how do you pick and choose that really complement versus compete or take away from your main goal? I think a lot of, especially smaller startups, they might be looking at too many shiny objects around them. So is there anything that you do that makes sure that you guys stay within bounds to really focus on your mission and get your goal for that year or next year or 5 years?
I think, like you said earlier, Ireida, it's focusing on being that clear voice and that true voice for our clients. And because that can take on so many different shapes, right? So we're here as the communication experts, whether we're working with a surgeon, whether we're working with a company, you know, who wants to cover OSHA standards and needs that voice translated or interpreted. We're there as the clear voice. And that seems to be our niche. And it does tend to shift, right? Because it's taking on, you know, just in different capacities. So it's interesting to see, though, it ebbs and flows. So when we have a year where we're like really, really busy with written document translations, you know, we focus a lot there. But in a year that we've done a lot of the work and our companies are satisfied, their websites have been translated, their documents are all in line. Interestingly enough, next on their list is, let's bring some, you know, we would love to have you come in and train our team on how to actually be bilingual interpreters, because that's something else that we're able to do. That's so right. To extend our reach, you know, we have several times a year that we give interpreter training. So a local hospital that says, you know, we have bilingual staff. And you always say, you know, just because you have 2 hands doesn't mean you can play the piano, right? Just because you speak 2 languages doesn't make you an interpreter. You need to go through a training, you need to be tested. So, you know, certainly it does. I see, to your point, that, you know, we want to have our niche. Sometimes I worry if our niche was, let's say, you know, just written document translation or just interpreting, that during these rocky times that we wouldn't stay afloat, right? So I am thankful that we've diversified, that, you know, sometimes it is, wow, like our tutoring, our phone will not stop ringing, right? Especially the time of the pandemic when everyone is home and they say, we've really been thinking about, you know, studying as a family, Japanese, right? And they'll call us and we'll say, sure, we can work together on this. Let's put a plan together.
I love that. So you kind of have those, you know, a little differentiation, or not differentiate, diversifying. So it really does help you kind of move with the changing environments. Lilia, has there been any, like, as you were starting, any missteps that you feel like you wish you had known about or hadn't taken, or anything that you felt like, oops, I maybe went that path and I wish I hadn't, or something someone can learn from?
Sure. I definitely, like, I'm a very good listener, but I was listening to messages about technology over and over again, that you need to automate, you know, you need to, it's coming like a freight train. If you don't automate, you're going to be out of the industry. And I kept hearing it, and I just kept thinking, but we're so good at what we do. We were this like boutique company that we would be in person and you could trust us and we would do such a great job. We don't need to automate because no one would want to replace us, right? And that really was a wake-up call for me. And even when my team was being honest and telling me, like, we really need to go video remote, that people are going to want video remote. And I was resistant. And kept talking to our strengths as, you know, well, we don't have to go video remote. I was wrong. I'm happy to say that I've accepted that, right? And I'm glad that we've taken the leap now, because again, it's expanding us to offer nationwide services. We're not just a tri-state area business any longer. That's, you know, we can serve clients all throughout the nation, and even the world if they need us, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it's listening, but really listening. And, you know, I can't tell you how many times even mentors were telling me, you know, mentors in the field that were like, your company's great. You really need to get online. You really need to be able to offer video remote services and telephonic services. Mm-hmm. So I think I was a little slow in catching up to that curve, to be honest, but we're there now.
And I think that part of that, again, going back to one of those first questions, we were able to have those conversations because of the culture of our team. It was never like, oh my goodness, I need to talk to my boss about this. Like, and I was never like afraid to say, hey, we should really start considering this. I've done some research. Here's some ideas. What do you think? Should we test with this company? You know, having that culture, that family culture from the beginning really helps to have those conversations where Leah was being vulnerable with us in the beginning, and we could also say, hey, we're noticing these things, and she could receive those messages well. And so something that we've really taken to heart going online and telephonically is we want to educate our clients to know, when is it appropriate to have an on-site interpreter? When is it appropriate to have an online, you know, an iPad there? When should it just be a phone call instead of just saying, well, you know what, this is more cost effective, so we're just going to do the telephones. Well, that's not going to give you the ratings that you want. Your patients may not be as pleased or satisfied with their care if that's all that you're offering. So we have taken that upon ourselves because of our conviction that we love to provide the best service, and we know the best experiences with an on-site interpreter. But at the same time, you know, we want to grow, but let's do it well. Let's educate our clients. Here's some tools to know, you know, when you can use each of these services. And they love that. That's been received so nicely. We just recently signed with a new client that was really pleased that there were options, and that we were willing to help them navigate that process, because they had no idea. They never had language services before in their clinic. So yeah.
Nice.
I think that's important, finding, you know, doing it well and doing it right when you're kind of making some of those changes. Leah, you keep talking about your mentor. Was there a specific kind of, how did you go about finding a mentor, maybe the right mentor? Did you guys go through a few different mentors? Do you have a few different mentors? Do you want to speak on that a little bit?
I do. And I should shout out some of them. I'll shout the two that are most close to me, of course. So I'm the daughter of an entrepreneur myself. I'm the wife of an entrepreneur. I think I just got this, you know, this business mindset coursing through my veins, right? So I have to shout out my father and my husband as two, you know, close to home mentors. But certainly, I think it's important to find specialists in what's important to you, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, I've sat down actually with a lawyer that we met, connected through with the chamber, mm-hmm. With a wonderful lawyer, to sit down and just say, you know, can you mentor me a little bit on what you think of XYZ? That's something my father wouldn't have been able to help me with, or my husband, right? They're from different industries. Yeah. I've had the pleasure to sit down with, you know, women in business leadership to say, our path is different. Tell me about some challenges you have faced, and this is where I am. Like, does this sound familiar to you, right? I think it's important to just always be on the lookout for someone to say, like, they have wisdom. I sense that. And I want to sit down with them and talk with them. And it's about giving back and keeping an eye out for others that you can mentor, right? So certainly always open to those conversations, and always keeping an eye out for those moments.
Which is exactly why we're having these startup stories. Because I feel like, you know, it's really, you know, there might be someone in Delaware or looking to start a business in, you know, kind of your field, and wanting to maybe reach out and get to know, you know, who's in your field, who they can learn from. So I think these are important conversations for the community to have. And which kind of gets us to the next and final question that I had for you guys is, you know, it's just, what was the best advice you've received, or what you feel like would be the best advice you'd give to other aspiring or current business owners out there?
Very good. I remember sitting in the office of a gentleman who had truly made it, right? He had established a very successful local law firm, His employees trusted him. They worked towards his mission. He just had embodied everything that I was like, this is a good sign of success. And sitting in his office and again, asking some key questions, his advice to me, he was like, Leah, responsiveness. He's like, that is the key driver here. He's like, you've got a great business, but if you're not responding to needs, then you're getting it all wrong. He's like, and all of your clients are going to have a different need, but if you can respond to them, and I've been, pretty clear with our team, like this is one of our key values, responsiveness, because we get very busy, right? But I think if, the phone rings and someone has a need, it's okay, let's respond to it. Even if it's just to call them to say, we got your message, we're working on it, we're going to meet that deadline, but right now we're a little in the weeds, so we will call you in the morning and you'll have it all ready, right? I think it's easy to be overwhelmed and say, we can't respond to that right now. And I think if we keep responsiveness at the forefront, we'll keep our level of success, because that has really come in handy for us, I would say, time and time again, in building trust with clients. They know we're going to respond to their needs.
Especially with this new online format. Everyone expects that immediacy. And if you're not getting it immediate, they're going to go somewhere else where they can find it immediate. So I feel like that does, I think that's a really good piece of advice, especially for those who are starting businesses, being responsive and knowing that people are expecting responsiveness. It's an expectation today. Is there anything I'm not, you would hope that, those who are listening just can make sure you're sharing, or anything that I didn't touch on that you really think is important for those who are starting a business, or have a business and are looking at scaling or growing or change, like maybe modifying their model a little bit right now?
Well, I was just going to add to the last question, and it ties into this as well. When you have clear core values, like responsiveness is one of our four core values, then you are able to filter everything, every decision through those core values. And so when you get to a point where you feel like, okay, we're doing really good with the quality that we're providing, but our responsiveness right now is not there because we need more help. I need somebody else to be answering phones, or I need to get a different, phone system, or, whatever that may be. Filtering everything through those core values so that you know how to scale. I feel like that has been a good measure for us to know how to move to the next level, how to say, okay, we're going to add another person here, or we're going to explore with this, this other platform or that. And letting that lead you and guide you and being that filter was something that was really helpful and has been really helpful to us in knowing how to move forward in the business community.
Right. And the only thing I would add advice-wise is that I think a lot of budding entrepreneurs might have some hesitancy. They might say, well, I'm not ready right now because I'm expecting a baby, or, I'm not ready right now because I don't have this huge financial backing. And it seems sometimes that there's only one path to get to success. And there are so many ways to make it work. Finding the right people to support you, being open about, what some of your deficiencies are, whether that's time, whether that's energy, there are so many right ways of getting there. So whether it's someone who has a full-time job and a really awesome idea and doesn't know whether to let go of one to grab the other, there are ways to do it. So I think it's important to keep that motivation that if you've got a great idea, start working towards it.
Yes. So that's wonderful. And I feel like the core values is perfect. It helps you kind of prioritize where you're putting your energy for your company, or where you're investing, or maybe where you're taking away from. If it's not part of your core values, then don't focus on it. So I love that. I think you guys are giving such good advice. And here at the Chamber, we love having you. For those on the call, you guys are part of the Emerging Enterprise Center. You're one of our clients too, which is exciting. And so we're so fortunate we get to kind of support your efforts and what you're doing for the community and your growth. With that, I just wanted to thank you both so much for sharing your story, talking with us today, sharing your advice. And for everyone who's tuned in, if you have any questions, make sure that you guys reach out to Leah and follow up. If you guys are looking to learn more about Language Liaisons and what they offer for the Delaware and well, actually now larger community as you guys are growing community. Please make sure you guys go visit their website, which is www.languageliaisons.com, or make sure you follow them at Language Liaisons. So we will also, you know, I'm just really happy that we get to share your story, and I really appreciate you spending the day with us, or this morning with us, and chatting. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for all that you do to support us as well. I feel like through this pandemic, and I feel like some of us have said this already, but we have felt so much more connected to the business community through the pandemic because of, you know, the effort, like the intentionality behind we as a chamber, you have done so much to continue to support us, to continue to keep us, you know, connected with one another, where you can, you know, when before the pandemic, there could be an event and we could say, oh, I'm going to skip this one, go to the next one. But now, like, you have this scheduled live, or you have this scheduled luncheon online, and you are, you know, you're actually taking the time to sit down and talk to one another. So it's odd how during a time where we maybe can't be together, we're still connecting, and you're still supporting us so much. So thank you for everything you are doing on your end to help us.
Thank you for saying that, because we have, you know, we're a small team here at the Chamber, and we've been really trying to make sure we're connecting with our members and the community, and sharing stories, sharing advice, making sure that people know how people are pivoting and helping, you know, how you're pivoting can help others. And those like little testing things help people make small steps to make larger steps. And I also know that you're going to be chatting a chamber chat with us.
Yes.
August
11th. Yes.
August 11th. So you'll be chatting with the chamber, and we really appreciate both of you and what you're doing. And we're here to support wherever we can. And
thank you.
That is our story today. So thank you guys so much. And those online, thank you guys for joining us. Again, it's www.languageliaisons.com and @Language Liaisons if you want to follow them on Instagram, Facebook. Are you guys on Twitter?
We are.
Wonderful.
Keep an eye out for us. We'd love to hear from you. So reach out if you have a question, if you have a translation, if you have anything at all, we'd love to hear from you.
Wonderful. All right. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Take care. Bye-bye.